Now, this operation was aimed at apprehending men who recently escaped from the Constant Spring lockup. During the operation, one of the escaped prisoners, Tally Chambers, was apprehended in the company of a lady who is his common law spouse. She too was also taken into custody, and sometime this afternoon, she was questioned under charge for harboring a fugitive. She is Shamara Holmes, and she's a 21-year-old unemployed lady of St. John's Road, Spanish Town address. We want to use this opportunity to remind citizens that persons who escape custody are fugitives, and they should not be accommodated by friends, family, nor any well-thinking individual. If you see any escaped prisoner or any person who has been listed as wanted, please contact the nearest police station, 311 or 119.
Welcome to True Jamaica Buzz, news and entertainment with a buzz. The audio that you just hear is from the police explaining what happened when they went for maybe one of the last two persons that were not captured. He was found in the presence of his girlfriend, 21-year-old, of course, unemployed. So he's a criminal and she is unemployed, so you know that they are more than likely, or they were more than likely, dependent on the proceeds of crime. So the police are making know, say, listen, if you harbor any sorts of fugitive, escapees, especially serious persons that were arrested and charged for a serious crime, it is actually a crime. So he was probably the second or the two that was left that weren't already captured, arrested, re-arrested, recaptured. Well, people, based on information that I am getting, it is said that the last escapee actually turned himself in the presence of his lawyer. Now, people, here's the thing. Very disturbingly is that it takes so hard to catch these criminals, and then when you catch these criminals, back to back to back to back to back jailbreak. These jailbreaks have been happening more and more frequently over the last couple of years ago or so. So I wonder, but enough the judge seems as if they might throw sympathy party for these criminals. It seems as if these people at these detention center is either them really asleep on the job, is either they might get some sorts of money to be releasing these people. Because when we hear the way that people escape, people have axe blade, people have welding torch, well, that is kind of exaggerated. But it seems as if it's either them just give them the key or them just give them all of the tools of the trade for escaping. And that is exactly what it seems transpired. Now, people, in all of these, have you noticed a very disturbing trend in that there is no arrest, nobody, no police, no guard is reprimanded, nobody is charged, nobody is convicted. It's just a disturbing trend wherein criminals are escaping on a regular basis and nobody is held accountable. Because here it is, 9 individuals, one time, Constant Spring Police Station, barbed wire, guard. You're supposed to have security posts wherever you are detaining criminal elements. You're supposed to have people upon guard. You're supposed to have a permit offense. That means that even if them leave the cell, them can't escape the compound. But we see that in this case, that was not the case. Disturbingly so. Now, people, I don't want to sound like a facilitator or an advisor to the criminal elements, escapee or persons that have aspirations of escaping from any of our penal institution. Just a word of advice, call it Escapee Plan 101 for Dummies. Whenever you escape and you go back to your house, or even worse, go back to your girlfriend, go back to your matey, that is more than likely the place that the police is more than likely going to be looking for you at. Because I know, say, maybe you missed the Sunday dinner, maybe you need some front, maybe you want to top up on the sex. But me just say, you cannot be penny wise or jailbreak wise and then get captured foolish. You cannot go back to the place in which the police is going to be looking for you. It makes absolutely no sort of sense. Because we see here, in less than 40 to 72 hours, 9 people escaped, 9 inmates escaped. Well, one, as soon as he heard the policeman bust him gun, he run go back into the cell. He was kind of hesitant. He was not really prepared for the task at hand. However, 8 others, within a day or two, everybody else get captured. One of them turning himself the last one that was out. Him figure to himself, well, them catch one. The first one run go back into the cell when him hear the gunman, the policeman gun. And then the 7 other get catch. What is the chance, what is the odds of me actually escaping and be out here in the free world forever and a day? He thought to himself when he got the advice of his lawyer or him past or whomever. And he's back. Everybody's back at square one, right behind the 8 ball, right where they belong. Getting some more time makes absolutely no sorts of sense. Point blank and period.
Yes, I say me and any should have win in a balaclava. Me I tell you, a whole of town me I bring come out. Riot in a balaclava. Yo, you think that joking? Riot. Watch it, come here, go down in the balaclava. Riot.
One miss just, you know. See the whole crew and the whole team.
Come now, man. Come on, down in the balaclava.
That love is there.
Hello. Yo, I'm MP. Hello. Don't know Mr. Fisher office this. And you say we're gonna win, we are gonna turn the world in a 80. Be a big matic and rifle.
Remember.
Me I tell you now. And you, hey, stop your chatting. Don't give me no chat, Cindy.
One just.
Come here.
One just. Mother love. Mother love.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right.
Yo, lock your mouth up. Big up the MP. Miss Jess, none of them are chat
One
up them
man
mouth. I 2 likes and sweets. Them can't get with no talk.
One just.
Me a real PNP, me murder people from a party. No talk. Yo, take it off.
So the next thing that is popping in the news, it is called a few moments, a few minutes, a few days later. That video that you see at the start of this has been making its round on social media. And what it shows, a social media personality, don't know if I would say he's an influencer, unless he's influencing buffoonery. His name is Mother Love and he hails from the parish of St. Elizabeth's. So based on the information that is out there, it is said that he was making suggestions that if his candidate known as Zolika Jess, PNP of course, did not win, then he was going to turn the place, maybe St. Elizabeth and Jamaica on a whole, into Haiti. Now people, you and I know that we're pretty close to Haiti as it stands right now. However, whenever we get to Haiti's status, it means that we have sunken in the abyss of hell. So this man proudly went on social media and made this post, even though you could have heard persons in the background advising him, listen, Mother Love, what the mother F-U-C-K are you doing? Don't you see that this is a bad idea? And people so said, so done, because just our days are moments. After this video was posted on social media, we see that the police went for him and he is now in the custody of police and he is charged for several breaches of causing or putting out mischievous items out there on social media, threatening the lives, endangering the lives of Jamaican citizen Joe and Jane. Point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news, it is called system failure / negligence incompetence at a lot of businesses that have tourist attraction. In this case, I am going to speak about Dunn's River Falls, where it is said that a teen, young youth with autism, he drowned in the shallow waters of the Dunn's River Fall by the beach section, I am assuming. Based on what the mother said, they went on a trip from the church. She was not there, but he was being assisted by a guardian. However, that guardian had left to go pick up lunch for the people at the trip. And she asked somebody to watch the little picnic, autistic little boy. When she came back, she saw a crowd. when she went and saw exactly what was taking place, she realized that a little autistic boy had drowned. That was when she called the mother who you heard in the interview, or who you are going to hear in this interview that I am going to show. The youth was gone, autistic, drowned in a shallow part of the beach at Dunn Fall. All while persons were there, persons were supposed to be watching him, lifeguard is supposed to be there. So people, I am going to let you hear from the mother and then hear from the guardian, and then I am going to give my piece.
The lady was not a part of the group that went on the trip. It's like she was passing along the beach side, going henceforth her business. She passed him there, to what I heard that she said. And passing back, she saw him in the same position. She was like saying to herself that how comes he's floating and still in the same position? She went there, she struck him. He was literally actually at the shore. He was not far out in the water, so he was basically at the shore. She juked him, no reflection. That's when she pulled him out of the water. So my understanding, got a phone call at approximately sometime after 12 from one of my sisters. Well, she was on the trip basically, saying that she came back to the beach and saw that they were trying to revive Mickey.
I saw a crowd, and I was wondering what kind of crowd is this? And then a parent come and meet me and hug me up and say, he gone, he gone. And I said, who gone? Who gone? And he said, Mikhail gone. And believe you me, I just dropped the lunch on the table. And when I run over, I saw him lie down on the sand. I could never believe. Then I started to cry. I
know that there are groups there. So to me, with a lot of questions asking, how many lifeguards are working? How many lifeguard stands is there? To the group that went there, it's a church ship. So I know that each group would have had a lifeguard. Was that the lifeguard that was in the seat? Question asked, yes. Was he like being observant to his surrounding? Yes, there are kids there. So you know that you're supposed to be like paying attention to the beach.
Now people, like I said, this is what we call system failure, incompetence, negligence in its highest form. And why it is that the system, meaning the relevant authority, meaning the UDC, Urban Development Corporation, I am assuming, whoever is the management of that facility, they hire lifeguards. Lifeguards are supposed to be watching people, whether them there in the shallow or them there in the deep, especially. If them there in the shallow, you should obviously see everything. Well, you see that was not the case. Me as a parent, if my child comes to me and wants to go on a beach trip or a pool trip, whatever the case is, I am not allowing anybody to take my child to a beach trip or take my child to a pool trip unless I am there. Unless I am there watching that child every movement. Even if that child is 10, 15, 18, whatever, well, not 18, but you get the point. I am not going to give the life or safety of my child to any guardians and think that that person is responsible, even if I deem that person to be responsible. If a trip is going on, I will have to make an attempt to be there, make sure that I am there, or else that child is not going. I am not going to give my child to Sister Joyce or Brother Ramdal or whatever his name to watch the picnic. Especially when I know that they are going to places in which these employees, meaning lifeguard, is not really serious. And I am not going to say that there are no lifeguards at any of these facilities that are competent, but me just as said, generally speaking, these youths, the job is just a hustle. It is not a responsibility. They are not going there with the intent to save anybody's life, including their own. Them there, and I watch out people business. I look for a sexy girl. I look tourists. I look for a trip to escape out of poverty in a Jamaica. So therefore, they are distracted. And whenever they are distracted and persons, security and safety is not the utmost priority, there is going to be problems. As in this case, we saw that that is exactly what happens. How is it And it speaks volume about persons not being their brother's keeper or their children's or their brothers or sisters' children's keeper. Everybody is so busy on social media. Everybody is so distracted. Nobody cares about nobody. And this is why this youth drown in a shallow at the Dunn's River Falls. It makes absolutely no sorts of sense. Point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news, it seems as if man really shot. It seems as if these women nowadays, not only the little young girls, them, the elderly women, what you call old-time big woman, even they are getting in their feelings and getting themselves in a whole shitload worth of trouble over man. Either fighting, joking up, shooting, taking away the lives or injuring, maiming badly their matey. Such is the case of a 55-year-old fish vendor that was accused, charged officially, for taking away the life of a lady known as Niecy Edwards, about the same age. Well, people, like I said, the theme of this, how desperate, how low. Is it that bad? Is man really that short? And people, it seems as if that is the case in this case. Based on the information, it is said that a man that lived in the Kingston area of a Mountain View, he would accommodate these ladies this week, Miss Edwards, next week, Miss Young. He would rotate them like how him rotate them upon him, you know what. However, it seems as if Mrs. Edwards Green, she went by the house for her weekend, and after the weekend passed, she decided that she was going to have an extended stay like Airbnb, extended like the extender, COCKY. She decided that instead of staying just one weekend, she was going to stay at least 3. That is when Mrs. Edwards, or Mrs. Young, sorry, got in her feelings and decided, say, oh, you for 1 3 weeks, and you know the rotation, you know the plan, you know the protocol. She then drove from where she lived and went to that house in a Mountain View, and she confronted the lady. And there was a verbal altercation. That verbal altercation turned into a physical altercation. Mrs. Young wheel and pop off our kitchen utensil, lend the lady a couple of juk. The lady was rushed to the hospital. However, too late was the call. The severities of her injuries did not allow her to survive. She was arrested, meaning Mrs. Young. The case went to court and she went for bail. Her lawyer, doing their job, applied for bail and she was granted $900,000 bail, $100,000 short of $1 million. This man, the lawyer is saying it is self-defense, it is a good case of self-defense. Well, people, here's the thing when it comes to self-defense. You cannot go to a person's house if you're at your house and somebody come at your house and then you have to defend your life, then that might be self-defense. But you cannot leave from the comfort of your place and go at the comfort of that man's place, even though that man was comforting you and comforting somebody else. Don't know whose weekend it is, don't know if there's some sort of contractual agreement that might bolster her case, but me just as said, whenever you as an all-time big woman find yourself in a predicament such as Mrs. Young, that you go and you juke up somebody over something that don't belong to you, when this man is rotating both of you at his place, accommodating you at his place, and rotating you upon him cocky head. People, me just as said, it makes absolutely no sorts of sense. You cannot be cocky wise and prison foolish. Point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news, it is called every day that the bucket goes to the well, one day at the bottom I go drop out. Well, people, it seems as if these Jamaicans do not learn, especially when they go to Uncle Sam country, meaning America, and then get caught up in a drugs predicament and they get deported. When they go back to the United States, don't know if it is because of their legal status, they cannot get any sort of legal job, or maybe a leopard just never changes its spots. I am speaking about a 35-year-old Jamaican known as O'Shane Smith, government name, that was deported back in 2021 for drugs and for being illegal in the country. He then went back up on or about 2022. On or about 2023, he found himself in a drugs predicament once again. Based on the information, it is said that exactly on the 20th of January 2023, these individuals, along with his combolos, tried to ship 11 pounds of cocoa, meaning at least 5 kilograms of cocoa, through a postal facility, meaning USPS, US Postal Service, that is. However, that package was intercepted like the NFL, and then they ran an investigation, realized that there was a conspiracy of young men, including a whole bunch of Jamaicans that were involved in a drug. They then traced the packages, realized that the packages were coming from a California address and going to a Ohio address. Don't know if somebody was held and somebody was stalking. However, Mr. O'Shane Smith was arrested and he was charged and he did a plea bargain and he received 8 years for illegal re-entry and also cocoa. He should consider himself very, very lucky that he actually got held with 11 pounds, equivalent about 5 kilograms of cocoa, plus he was a illegal returning resident, and he only got 8 years. Don't know if he's giving or doing some sorts of talking or selling out the big man, the big fish in the big pond. People, me not really know. All I know is that he should thank his lucky star that he was pretty much just slapped on the wrist after being a drug dealer, getting deported and then coming back to America. Something kind of sounds straight. Something sounds like the judge was a bit kind of lenient. Was he assisting? That is yet to be determined. Point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news, people, something is quite not right. And I'm speaking about Jamaican-born man that went to Maine, that is up north here in the Boston area. And he was said to be in the police force, maybe the reserve in the police force. What was also bad or even worse is that he applied for a tool, meaning a fire piece. He achieved the impossible, meaning joining the police force because of their due diligence and their vetting process. If you're not a resident citizen of America, then more than likely you're not going to buck the system, meaning beat the protocols that is set forth by the FBI, meaning background check. However, this man managed to get into the police force, and then when he was applying for a firearm, legal firearm, that is when the system said, hold on a minute, but this youth don't have no paper, this youth is in the country illegally. Well, people, that is kind of conflicting, because if he was there illegally, he would have gotten a whole bunch of charges, or even worse. The fact that he was given voluntary departure, meaning no sort of deportation, you can leave and then reapply and come back, it tells me that something is not quite right. It tells me that they are just making an example out of him based on the fact that there was a system lapse, meaning background check, and he was allowed to join the police force. Now, people, based on the information that I have in my limited knowledge, is that he just went there on a work program. Don't think that he was a resident, and definitely was not a citizen. So therefore, maybe he did not qualify. Maybe is the operative word. However, at the end of the day, he joined the police force, like you saw the pictures circulating all over social media. At the end of the day, he tried to apply for a legal fire piece that did not work out. That is when them gathered all of the information, and that is when they decided that he was going to be in the custody of ICE. However, we see that things did not work out too bad for him. More than likely, there was not really any big case against him, because now he can go back home and reapply to go to the United States. So therefore, him can start with a clean slate. point blank and period.